Welcome to Talking About Kids. I'm your host, R. Bradley Snyder, researcher, activist, and author of The 5 Simple Truths of Raising Kids. For the second year in a row, Talking About Kids was granted Media Act to all of NYC Pride's events, including the 2024 NYC Pride March. At the press conference for the march, each of the Grand Marshals described their platforms and the changes they hoped their profiles would affect. I found it interesting that most of them used their time to address issues that impact all children and families, like this nation's lack of affordable housing. In this episode, you will hear DaShawn Usher, Senior Director of Communities of Color and Media at GLAAD, and founder and executive director of Mobilizing Our Brothers initiative. Eshe Ukweli, writer, content creator, and digital strategist. Raquel Willis, transgender rights activist, the former national organizer for the Transgender Law Center, and the former executive editor of Out magazine. Baddy Brooks, multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, and champion for queer and transgender communities. Robin Drake, Afro-Latina trans male, advocate, and professional with the Hetrick Martin Institute. Miss Major, author, pioneering activist, and community organizer for transgender rights. And finally, Michelle Visage, singer, producer, and permanent judge on RuPaul's Drag Race. This episode is sponsored in part by the Arizona Department of Health Services Must Stop Bullying campaign through its Title V Maternal and Child Health Program. For more information, go to muststopbullying.org.
Good morning, everyone. DaShawn Usher, he, him pronouns. I'm super excited and grateful to have this opportunity to serve as one of the Grand Marshals for New York City's Pride. Literally being from New York City and having this moment is very full circle of what it looks like to just be yourself, to be authentically yourself, unapologetically yourself as a Black queer man. I'm super excited to be here today with my family that has supported me through my entire life. And so my mom and my sister and my little niece, so shout out to Winnie, Charlotte, Skylar, my fiance, Victor. These are the people that oftentimes when we're doing the work, we go and we're out and doing it, but we don't always get to spend that time with them. And so thank you for your generosity of sharing me with the world. I'm super excited for literally what today represents. Remembering that we have to continue, that it's not just a parade, it's not just, we're still marching for equality, we're still marching for rights, we're still literally trying to ensure that we are not erased inside of history books, inside of any books, and so being able to ensure that we're speaking up for people that are the most marginalized, whether they're Black, whether they're trans, whether they're youth, whether they're unhoused. I just want to be that example and reminder that with support, anything is possible. Without any ceilings, anything is possible, and we shouldn't hold that to anyone. So thank you so much.
I'm so honored to be here. Like she said, my name is Eshe Ukweli. I'm a writer, a content creator, digital strategist, and I'm so honored to be here today. It's my first ever New York City Pride celebration and like first ever chance and you're a Grand Marshal, like surreal. But the statement of that and what that means and represents for not only the entire LGBTQ community, but specifically for queer youth, queer and trans youth is not lost to me on this moment. Growing up in Boston, Massachusetts, while I see so many Black and brown folks, I didn't have many visions of possibility that reflected the entirety of my identity. And so to be standing here today as a young woman, as a young Black trans woman, means that some other little Black girl, some other young person dreaming of what their life can look like and who they can become. This means that they'll have me and all the other marshals to look up as visions of possibility so that they can not only live an abundant life, but also author their own stories. But dreams and possibility aren't all that we need. We need to continue to provide resources for housing, for education, resources through money, but also resources through funds. We have the fund like the Borealis Trans Fund for Generations, but we need so much more. And it's my hope that through all of this and through all of our collective work, that queer youth can have a better and bright future full of joy, full of love, but more importantly, full of the abundance that all this life has to offer. Thank you so much.
And thank you to everyone at NYC Pride who made this possible. It's an honor to stand in front of the world, really, and be in my power as a Black trans woman from the South. I'm from Augusta, Georgia. If you don't know, I say it all the time, so the people who know should know. But it's important for me to raise up the South and people from all of those places that we often kind of forget about or think that queerness and transness doesn't exist there. Honey, we're everywhere, and we have been here. And I know that I wouldn't be here without so many powerful elders, transcestors, ancestors, people, of course, like Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, Crystal LaBeija, of course, our living legend who I get to share this honor this year with, Miss Major. It's so important that we remember that there is no pride without resistance and resilience. We know that the Stonewall riots back in June 1969 was a queer militant uprising against police brutality and state violence. So there is a radical element to what we do, to our lives, and so we have to be invested in all of our liberation because we're all tied together. And I'm also just thinking about all of the youth out there. Yes, it's 2024. Yes, the agenda is winning, but also queer and trans youth are still absorbing so many messages that tell them that they shouldn't exist, that they're invalid, that they don't deserve the health care that they should have, that they can't go after the passions that they are interested in, and we have to continue to resist that. We have to continue to tell all of these hateful politicians, hateful media figures who try to tear them down that we're not gonna stand for it. We're gonna fight for them just like our ancestors fought at Stonewall for us. So I'm excited to be a part of this demonstration today. Some people gonna be demonstrating, but also the celebration and everything. And I'm just thinking about all of the lives around the world as well, thinking about all of the Palestinian lives, right, that we've lost, all of the folks who are facing state violence in so many places from Sudan to the Congo. Queer and trans people are everywhere. And again, we have to remember that our liberation is all tied up in each other. So sending everyone love, thank you for this honor, and I believe in my power, and I want you to believe in your power too. Thank you.
My name is Baddy Brooks, and I'm so excited to be here and honored. This is my first time being at New York City Pride, and my first Pride outside of the state of Michigan. I'm a Detroit girl, okay, and I'm so happy to be here and represent. being a young queer person, there's so much to juggle. On top of it all, it seems like the world just can't stop talking about us. I'm not gonna focus on these things, though, that we can't control. Instead, I wanna teach you all a word that is very personal and important to me. That word is reclamation. If y'all wanna say that with me, reclamation. Thank you. So what is reclamation? Reclamation is the process of claiming something back or reasserting a right. It's literally centered around reclaiming what's yours. I want to let you know that in this moment and for the rest of your life, you, yes you, have the power to reclaim what is yours. Being here and showing up as your most authentic self, you're already doing that. It took me a long time to show up as a confident and proud Black transgender woman you see today. I grew up in a conservative community where I wasn't always able to outwardly embrace my identity. From 8 years old, I knew that I was different. But for my own safety, I remained hidden for 13 years and did not come out as a transgender woman until the age of 21. It was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced. I love to pretend that it was like the movies and I was met with only affirmations of my identity and waivers of support, but that just wasn't the case. Through those that were there, what felt louder was the deafening silence from family. It's baffling how one simple Facebook post resulted in having to navigate a new reality filled with changed relationships, housing and job discrimination, almost facing eviction, and challenges unique to being an openly Black queer trans person in this world. Despite that, more than anything, I felt liberated. I found so much beauty in reclamation. Reclaiming the clothes I wear, y'all see the gown, okay? Reclaiming my name, the nails. Reclaiming little girly things from my childhood I wasn't allowed to enjoy. As an artist, music was the medium that I felt pulled to express my reclaimed identity through. Reclamation seemed to be the theme of my new journey, and I did what artists do. So I wrote an entire 16-track album centered around the theme. Stream my album, by the way, okay? But my album is called Reclamation, and it centers around reclaiming myself. And she can be found on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, and all the other platforms. So, to quote the title track for my album, it's time to claim your identity, and you deserve to finally live in peace. This is not to say that you have to do what I did. Claim your identity in whatever way that feels safe for you, because safety was very important for me, and as someone who grew up not feeling safe, it was important for me to wait until I felt safe to do so. The point is to never let anyone tell you who you are, and know that there is beauty and power in reclaiming yourself. I know that this is easier said than done, especially when there needs to be an increased amount of support in safe housing and monetary resources for queer youth who are in similar situations as my own. We deserve to feel safe and affirmed and beautiful, empowered and free despite what society says. I challenge you all to find something in your life to reclaim and start your journey of full reclamation. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you to my makeup artist, Isiah, to my manager, Kate, and thank you all for this opportunity and platform to be able to speak up and be a voice for my community.
Hi everyone, as you heard, my name is Robin Drake, and I go by he, they pronouns. And I just want to thank NYC Pride for asking me to come and be a Grand Marshal this year, and I also want to thank the Hedrick Martin Institute, who I work for as a youth outreach intern. What that means is I reach out to homeless youth that are out on these streets currently and make sure they are getting clothed, they are getting fed, they are getting housing. And that is of precedent this year, especially with the Supreme Court ruling that has happened a few days ago, where they said it is illegal to arrest anyone who is sleeping out on the streets or on the trains. It is ridiculous that we even have to talk about how put putting people through a situation where they can't get out of it just because they're homeless is absolutely ridiculous. But on top of that, I also want to point out that a lot of these people are using substances, and there's an opioid epidemic happening currently, and no one is doing anything about it. We have not heard from Governor Hochul, which we have called upon several times to not only get rid of the mask ban that they were talking about, but also to call for a state of emergency for this opioid epidemic. As someone who advocates for both people who are homeless as well as those in the recovery community, it's so essential that we have these, like, all of these services like HMI, as well as like the Allyship Center, we have the center itself, and all of the funding that's currently being cut from everywhere is affecting not even just the smallest person. It is affecting these companies, it is affecting our libraries, it is affecting even the people out on the street that you see every day. I'm so honored to be here, but I also need to talk about the people who are outside of this country as well. The people in Palestine are still suffering. There is over 300,000 gone. Children, civilians, everyone. And it's just so upsetting as someone who is a social advocate as well as a youth advocate. We need to do something. We need to call for a permanent ceasefire. We need to call for a return to those lands. It wasn't our land to begin with, as someone who was also Jewish. It wasn't our land. We were banished. The Torah even says it. We were supposed to abandon this land and never return. It literally says it in the Torah, do not return to this place. It is not for us to be taking. It is just abhorrent that Israel is even using the Star of David, which was used to discriminate against Jewish people during the Holocaust, as now a sign of hate. We need to take that back from them, because the Star of David is not a sign of hate. It is a symbol of strength and of power, not white power or any of that, but of the strength of everyone coming together and surviving through something horrific. We can't allow this to keep happening. I want to thank you all for your time, and I just want to thank you all for being here as well. My name is Robin, once again, and Free Palestine.
Well, hello, and I don't need to tell you about my life. You already know about that. So I will say that, this thing in Palestine is really of choices because children are dying. I saw the pictures of babies that have died, and it's just a sad, sad thing. And I hope that you all get together and work out something so that you can stop that genocide now. As for me, I'm a Grand Marshal, yay. It's supposed to be a good thing, so we'll see. Because when it started in '69, we were fighting for our rights. We were fighting to get the police to stop pouncing on us, in a sense, And now, of course, we're fighting again because the government in the East, the Republicans, want to start again pouncing on us. So, that's got to stop. Eventually, they got to realize that we want the same things they do. We want the same rights they have. We're not asking for anything more, anything different, anything so absurd that they would have to fight it. So please, when they get the vote, use your voting privilege.
have a lot that I could speak about, probably for an hour, so I'm gonna make it short and sweet. I wanna talk about chosen family, allyship, and getting things back to where I think we need to be as a community. So for me, I didn't know anything about gay lifestyle, gay people, gay anything. I grew up in Plainfield, New Jersey, and I moved to New York City to become an actress and a performer. And I went out one night because my mother said to me, okay, this was 1986, so we didn't have computers or cell phones, and my mother said, you need to go get discovered now. And I said, Mom, I'm 17, I can't even go to a bar. So she sent me a fake ID, and she said, now you have no excuse. And I started going out, and I went to a club called the Underground in New York City, and I remember being scared to death. I knew nothing, and I walked down the steps with my fake ID, and I got in the club, and this beautiful, the most beautiful brown-skinned boy I've ever seen in my life comes up to me, and he says, oh, you are so beautiful. And I was literally looking around like, who is he talking to? Because I had never, ever had anybody say that to me besides my mother. And I went with him. I don't know if I should have, but I went with him in a club. I don't know where he was taking me. And he brought me into a room of the freakiest, most beautiful people I'd ever seen in my life. And they were doing something that I'd never seen before, and that was, it turns out, was called voguing. And they welcomed me with open arms. And I knew in that moment that I had found my family. I had found my place and my people. And one of those kids was a legend called Willie Ninja, and there were a few others that soon became my house. I was brought into the House of Magnifique. I didn't know anything about anything, but I knew that this was where I wanted to be. And what I spoke about earlier about going back then in the 80s, we've been through a lot together. But one thing was very prominent that doesn't really exist anymore. And that was, I was this privileged white kid from lower middle class New Jersey, brought into a people of color, Latinx, and brown-skinned people who welcomed me with open arms and let me know that I had a place at their table always, no matter what. No matter who I was, no matter where I came from, to anything, they brought me in and loved me completely. And I feel like we need to get back to that because we've kind of lost the way with cancel culture and not allowing people to learn from mistakes and heal. And I think that as a community, what I was brought in to learn was that everybody deserves a place and we love everybody. So that as an ally and an advocate for me became a platform. Let's educate through love, not hate. And it's difficult where we are right now. I know how difficult it is. I have a very queer child who I'm very proud to be a parent of, but I want this planet to be a better place for them. And for me, I think we need to get back to basics of loving one another and educating through that love. And we need to vote, and we need to vote not only for who goes into the White House, which is so important, though your candidates may not be your first pick. It is what it is right now, and we've got to use our voices, but also on a local level. We need things locally that are not being taken care of. You know, big like healthcare, but also little like local things. You know, these are all things that we need to address. So I beg the queer vote to get out and do their thing because our voices matter. So as an ally, to be a proper ally, it's great to say you love gay people. We all love gay people, but you need to be a voice and be present and listen and learn and educate and be there, be a shoulder. You don't even have to say anything. You just need to have a pair of ears that you can listen to and speak up when they're not there. So if you hear people talking smack when you're not in the room, that's your place to say, you know what, I'm not okay with that. So today, more than ever, now more than ever, your voice matters as a community so we can come together in the name of love. Everybody have a wonderful, safe, happy Pride, and let's move forward in this world and in this planet, hand in hand, in the name of love. Happy Pride.
For more information about the Grand Marshals of the 2024 NYC Pride March, please visit talkingaboutkids.com. From there, you also can find out about upcoming episodes, suggest a topic, learn more about me and my books, or submit your questions for future guests. Our theme song is by The Senators. For more of their music, go to thesenatorsmusic.com. And remember, kids are young goats and young humans, and the difference is that young goats are easier to manage.